Hello, welcome to the Liberated Multitasker. So with the garden getting busy and the temperatures warming up, I've decided I needed some freezer meals. So come join me with some low-carb and keto-friendly freezer meals. The first thing I'm going to do is preheat my oven to 375 degrees. Now the first casserole we're going to be making is ground beef stroganoff casserole. And I'm going to be using 2 pounds of ground beef. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my skillet to brown. Now when I first served this low-carb, keto-friendly casserole to my husband, I didn't tell him what it was. I just told him it was a beef casserole. Now in a separate pan, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of water and 1 teaspoon of beef better than bouillon. And we're going to let this simmer down till it's about 1 tablespoon worth. Now I'm just going to salt and pepper the beef as we chop it up and let it brown. Now, I did eventually tell my husband what this casserole was. See, in the past, we have done some hamburger helper beef stroganoff. So he had a negative idea when I would say I'm cooking beef stroganoff. He automatically turned his nose up. So I wasn't going to tell him what it was until after he had tasted it. This recipe is now one listed as husband approved. I'm going to continue to chop this meat up and just let it brown. We have a couple of steps to this casserole, but it is pretty good. I have to say, having some convenience meals in the freezer has already come in handy. There was one afternoon after the rain that me and my husband had to go retie our tomatoes. And then just yesterday, we realized there was deer in our garden and we needed to put up an electric fence. So I didn't have to cook supper. I set a convenience meal out, let it thaw, and when we were done putting the fence up, all I had to do was heat it up. And that's why I like having convenience meals in my freezer. Whether I'm just trying to keep my house cool and not run my electric bill up, whether I'm harvesting or preserving food, or whether life happens and you have unexpected things of a personal nature going on, it's there to help maybe make your life just a little bit easier in the middle of whatever it is that you're dealing with. And let's face it, it's almost always cheaper to cook your food and eat what you prepare than it is to eat out, even though eating out is nice every now and then. So we're still just waiting for this meat to finish browning. We're almost there. I'm just whisking this broth up just a little bit, trying to help it incorporate really well. And our next step is going to be to drain the meat. You've seen me do this several times if you've watched any of my videos. I'm just going to let the paper towel soak up the grease. It's just easier for me this way. It won't take but a minute, and then we'll be getting ready to add our next ingredients. So now that our meat is good and brown, we're going to add it as the first layer in our casserole dish. I'm going to spread it out evenly. And now I'm going to add some olive oil, about 2 tablespoons, but I'm not measuring. Now the recipe calls for 1 chopped onion. I had a cup of onions diced in my freezer, and that's what I'm using. So we're going to let these saute. And in the meantime, I'm going to drain the juice off these mushrooms. Now the recipe calls for 2 pounds of washed, dried, and quartered mushrooms. I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to use the canned variety that's already sliced. I'm actually using 2 6-ounce jars. And we're just going to let these saute and soften. Just stirring those around a bit. It doesn't take long at all. And in a separate bowl, we're going to add 1 cup of sour cream and 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. And we're going to stir this together. Then we're going to add the cooled broth that we've simmered to about 1 tablespoon. And we're going to mix it in with our sour cream and mayonnaise. Just going to stir that around. Stir in our onions and mushrooms. Now I'm going to add some riced cauliflower. Our recipe calls for 4 cups of riced cauliflower. I'm adding 2 10-ounce bags. It's already been steamed and I'm going to stir this in. Now I do realize this is not 4 cups of riced cauliflower, but sometimes we make adjustments based on our personal preferences or based on what we have on hand. And it all ends up just fine. Now the next thing we're going to do is add 1 cup of shredded cheese to our sour cream mixture. And then we're going to add some steak and rib seasoning. I'm going to add about a half a teaspoon. And we're going to stir all this together. This is going to be our sauce for our beef stroganoff casserole. Just getting it all incorporated. Now we're going to add our onions, mushrooms, and rice cauliflower on top of our ground beef. It's going to take me a minute. These heavy pans are a little tough for me. I'll scrape it all out and then we're going to smooth it out pretty evenly. Almost done there. Next, we're going to take our sour cream mixture and let it be our next layer of our casserole. I'm just going to glob it on top and smooth it over and incorporate it in just a little bit. We're not really stirring it or mixing it. We're just kind of making sure it gets down in to the layers. Wanting to get all that goodness and just smoothing it out. And our next step is just to layer some cheese on top, making sure we have it completely covered. And then we can put this to the side and work on our second casserole, which is going to be one of my favorites, buffalo chicken casserole. Yes, I'm going to use a rotisserie chicken, already cooked and pulled apart. 8 ounces of cream cheese, and I'm going to end up using 2 bags of riced cauliflower. And we're going to mix this together. Probably going to pull this chicken apart just a little bit, because I normally strip it off in larger pieces because I'm not sure how I'm going to use it. These bags of riced cauliflower are 10 ounces each. I softened the cream cheese up, and I'm going to add 5 ounces of Frank's buffalo wing sauce. And once we get all that out of the bottle, I'm going to add in some shredded cheese. A little bit of pepper jack, a little bit of extra sharp cheddar. And then we're going to mix that all together. This comes together really quickly when you have a cooked chicken. You can cook 4 chicken breasts, 6 or 7 boneless, skinless chicken thighs, or a chicken you've already cooked in your Instapot, or one you've bought from the store. It all works. I'm just making sure it's all incorporated really good and everything's mixed together. If you like buffalo chicken dip, you're going to like this casserole. I've sprayed this pan with some avocado oil spray, and I'll put it in this dish and spread it out evenly. Just about done there. I'm going to press it all down, and then of course we're going to top it with some cheese. As usual, I'm going to use a combination of medium cheddar and pepper jack. The pepper jack melts exceptionally well and gives it just a little extra spice. I have that done, so I'm going to cover it with foil, and both casseroles are going to go in the oven at 375 degrees. We're going to bake them for 20 to 25 minutes. Really, all we're trying to do is make sure the cheese is good and melted. So it's been about 25 minutes. I've cut the oven off, And now it's time to pull out our casseroles. I wish you could smell them. Doesn't that look delicious? Now for me, I'm going to separate these into serving sizes. For you and your family, you may just need to let them cool, wrap them up, and this is the serving size for your family. For me, I will get 6 meals out of these 2 casseroles for me and my husband. It may not look pretty, but I'll scoop them out into these dishes. If you're interested in any of the products I use during these videos, there are links in the description notes below. I love these glass containers. I can stick them straight in the freezer. They have a lid that has a silicone ring on it, and so they're great for the freezer. But when I want to cook them, all I have to do is let them thaw out, and I can take the lid off and put that glass container in the oven and heat them up. I also have disposable food prep containers that I got from Walmart that average out to be about $1 a piece. And when I use those, I end up vacuum sealing them to help them stay airtight, and that works really well for us. I have other low-carb, keto-friendly freezer meal videos that I'll link above. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon.